A massive breaking Iran war development from Alex Jones. Let's have a look. Like and subscribe.
Trump is not just doing kabuki theater now. He has turned against Netanyahu and the advice that they gave him. He is announcing the end of military operations for real, saying it's going now to economic siege. And then on top of repudiated Israel, Huckabee saying Israel has been involved in horrific acts of terror against Christians. Quote, Trump orders Netanyahu to stop attacking Lebanon. Of course, he'll ignore that, but
of course,
this is a major break. Trump would not be doing that if he was just playing kabuki theater.
He has a timer for how long the Iran war has been going on. That's a nice touch.
Like we've seen some in the past, because it's so embarrassing when Netanyahu ignores him. So you look at all the calculus, this is a big deal 166 days in. That doesn't mean a false flag won't get set off. That doesn't mean the Iranians might not be belligerent and do something. It doesn't mean it's totally over. But these developments are huge, and I was already very excited. And then,
speaking of huge developments, this is the price of diesel. The war began at the end of February, right here. And then it went up. It went up some more. It went down a little bit during the MOU. Then it went up again, and now it's hitting all-time highs. That is, we're getting near shortage. We're getting very near a shortage of diesel.
And right before I went live, 5 or 6 more things broke, and I barely even got in the chair because I'm trying to analyze this myself. So we're trying to stop the collapse of civilization. The globalists want the collapse of civilization, but they want to control the collapse of civilization. Well, they're not going to get...
Yes. He is right that the globalists might want that, but he doesn't talk about why they want that. The reason why they want that is that group at the Treasury that never want to be held accountable for their actions, and the dollar is doomed to collapse. So if it's doomed to collapse, try to collapse society with it and maybe somehow gain control of the wreckage. It won't work. It won't work at all. Because by the time the dollar is collapsing, the mainstream media, faith in mainstream media will be gone. People will be getting the news from people like Alex Jones. And people like Asmongold, I mean, if he's radical now in terms of what he wants to do to the people in charge of everything, imagine how radical he will be by that point in time.
Their control collapse. They thought they could control it. Now a lot of the globalists are trying to pull back on collapse. And the question is it too little too late? Well, I'm working as hard as I can to stop that. Thursday live, Trump admin admits strategic defeat in Iran. Returns to previous successful policy of siege, ignoring Netanyahu's demands for total war. Trump admin has ordered Israel to stop attacking Lebanon. It's not going to be accuses Israel of horrific acts of terror. And he is a...
You can't wait until Asmongold reads the data on lost pregnancies. 104 out of 127 in their third trimester lost their babies. That is insane amount, and Dr. Fauci covered this up. He deserves to go to jail.
100% foaming at the mouth Zionist. That means he knows he's about to get fired. And that's because Israel's just machine gunning the Christians and blowing up all their churches in Lebanon and in the West Bank. And again, you know me, I wasn't brought up to have a hard-on for Israel and didn't think if I fell on a banana pill, Israel did it. But Israel is trying to be every stereotypical bad guy villain you can be with its leadership. It is a damn threat to everybody, including every Jew on this planet. But you got a whole bunch...
Yeah, I pretty much agree.
Bunch of people going along with the radical Zionists, and they're just all whipped up into a frenzy, not just Jews, bunch of whack job Christian Zionists and others. They're going to get us all killed. I mean, this is bonker town.
Real time, uncensored, unstoppable. AlexJonesLive.com. Take a stand.
So nice that the lawsuit didn't manage to take Alex Jones out and he's still broadcasting.
Share the link.
Do you want to fight? You better believe you got one.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin.
I just realized I don't think I'm following Alex Jones on Twitter. Follow. Okay. Good.
Texas, broadcasting worldwide. It's Alex Jones.
All right, you are participants on the front lines of the information war, a spiritual war, an economic war, a culture war. You need to realize that and be 1,000,000,000% conscious of that. And whenever we have some massive development that goes almost unnoticed. It's very important for me to explain why I know it's massive. Now, I want to explain something first to everybody, and I want to ask you to right now go to X and share at Real Alex Jones, the top live feed of the live broadcast we just launched that you're watching right now. And to go to rumble.com/The Alex Jones Show Live and share that. Or it's even easier, just share AlexJonesLive.com. And when you share it, say, go there. You'll see the live feed on the front page. Or go to AlexJonesLive.com/show and share it, because massive historical news just broke in front of everyone. And it's getting almost no attention. I mean, it's going out on key system.
Just like everything else important, mainstream media isn't covering it. What a shock.
It was AP, Reuters, Bloomberg, which told me a lot, but it's not getting picked up by the networks, but it will. This is a huge deal, and I want to explain to you first how I know it's so big, and we'll take out.
If it's going to be picked up by networks, then either it's something that Deep State doesn't have a problem with, or it's, of course, just something that's going to end up being so big they have to cover it.
Hours to get into every little piece of data, how when I see something and it all lines up and I know. But this is such good news, and I'm getting chills right now. This is absolutely fabulous. And so many other talk show hosts know what they're doing. They use the tactic of when they have something really big, they build it up, they hype it, they don't tell you about it, and then everybody goes, ooh, and then they wait and they listen to it and they take it seriously. And then a lot of times it's disinfo, propaganda. Sometimes it's important news. Depends on who the host is or who the media outlet is. This news deserves to be celebrated. And then it can snowball and we can ensure this change happens. And this is beautiful. Now, there are literally thousands of data points that go into what I'm about to say. Thousands. I can sit there for 10 hours and just go to the next one in my mind. The top of my head exploded when I got up at 4 a.m. this morning and saw some of these developments. Then I went and worked out, did a podcast with Sean Johnson, came back in, worked on equipment, the new studio, started doing research an hour before the show again, and even more broke, and the top of my head blew off again.
What's going on?
Show, a couple more broke, and I literally had to just run promos because I had to get my bearings and process this. I'm tempted to just go to rebroadcast for like 30 minutes and just, because I need to process this. I mean, I already know what it means, and then I know what the response is going to be.
He's very good at building up anticipation.
And then when I report this, people will say, this isn't real, you know, it doesn't matter. This is just Trump waking up to the fact of how unpopular this war is. So this is just him changing the subject again. We'll be back to full war tomorrow. But from my Pentagon sources, my White House sources, also studying this and looking at how it was put out and how it was pushed, and then understanding what's happening economically and what's going on behind the scenes, this is real. And so in the tug of war of trying to get Israel to not run our foreign policy and now trying to control our domestic.
So basically he's had some insider information that we are going to be pushing back against Israel. This is what I'm guessing this is headed towards.
Policy to ensure foreign policy. We just moved the needle really far towards taking our country back. And we just scored a major touchdown and got the extra point. And just moved into a winning position. We're ahead right now. That's a football way of putting it.
I think that one day, unless this news is really absolutely dramatic, Trump is so mercurial. He'll do one thing one day and one thing the next. I don't think you can 100% trust that he's chosen a new path yet, unless you have him chart his path for like 2 or 3 weeks without wobbling.
So, should I just state the big news? Or should I explain how I know this? Or should I just cover other news for an hour and then get to it? Because we had guests on today, but this is so big. Right before the show, I said cancel them. Cancel them. And again, I'm just processing this. You know, a lot of people that are well-spoken and intelligent, they may spend a month before a keynote speech they're going to give to a college, or, you know, a corporate guy like Steve Jobs would spend months preparing for, you know, an Apple speech he would give. I don't have that luxury. This is so big, and normally I can process a lot. I can handle a lot. And right now, You've heard the term dumbfounded, godsmacked?
Yes, considering this type of stuff you report on and the insane stories you've covered, what could make you so godsmacked?
5 minutes before the show, I actually got dizzy because my brain was just, the top of my head was blowing off. And the news is so good, and then all the extrapolations out of it were so good, but also so dangerous. You know how fast the mind moves when you have epiphanies and understandings, when you have already so much data and wisdom and research. And then, like, how do you condense this down for people? And folks that are regular listeners know I don't hype stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen him do this too often. But I really wish you would tell us what it is precisely before you do.
When I get up here and say we got huge news, it's huge. And sometimes we're covering the huge news that they're making, big news, but it is important. Most of the time, whatever they try to make important isn't actually what's important. Oh, sorry, the ballroom's not important. Sorry, the reflecting bull's not important. Sorry, Trump flirting with the press secretary is not important. This is important.
Okay, from this point
Frankly,
on,
I'm not attacking it.
in the video on YouTube, I'm just going to speed this up faster and faster until we actually get to the news.
Candace Owens tomorrow, while I'm on the air, having the big debate about the Charlie Kirk assassination, which is just a giant tar baby. I've studied that you can't prove one way or the other. A bunch of the theories about it being a conspiracy or bull, a bunch of them are obviously true, but you can't figure out exactly what's going on. And then you just got all sorts of bizarre land happening. And stuff focus on the soap opera and the Charlie Kirk assassination industry. But at the same time, there's no trust system. And people that's
9 minutes in and still hasn't even told us what this big breaking thing is.
I mean, all that's important. It's all interesting. But ladies and gentlemen, the thing I'm about to get to on so many levels is massive. And the stories themselves are big. And each one of them is a horrible tragedy.
It's really so important. Why don't you tell us already?
And incredible. And totally indicts and convicts Israel of crimes against humanity and violations of the Geneva Convention and real genocide and terrorism. Talking about Christians being genocide. Each story itself, it deserves hours of coverage. But you get all of the stories together, and then the way it's being responded to by the Trump administration and what the key players are saying and where it comes out. And I went and checked the publishing times, which is always key. Little things I've noticed in the Matrix. And early this morning at 4 something in the morning, all these articles got published at the same time. Why is that important? When you got Axios and Reuters and AP and a bunch of other publications that are direct CIA feeds publishing within minutes of each other the exact same stories, it means it's coordinated, and it means it was Mockingbird operation, and it means it was a programmed order out of the Trump administration through the Central Intelligence Agency.
Programmed order from the deep state. Sometimes the deep state will cooperate with Trump if they're on the same page. But Trump doesn't control the media that way. It's the deep state that does.
So when the CIA openly fires massive torpedoes at Israel controlling the U.S., when the CIA's been heavily both sides infiltrated, so many examples of that, it shows that a major decision has been made by Trump, but not just by Trump, by a large section of the deep state, meaning the special counsels, the secret councils with key senators, key governors, presidents.
I always told you that it wasn't Zionists running everything. They were just one branch, one arm of the deep state. And I think by starting this Iran war, they had essentially gone rogue. And now the rest of deep state, I think, might be turning on them, if this is what Alex Jones is saying.
President, key corporate leaders, and key members of the judiciary on the Supreme Court. Yeah, they have secret consortium board meetings, kind of modeled after the Jewish Sanhedrin. But the Romans had secret councils as well within the Senate. And they have officially broadsided Israel, not for public consumption, but as a message to the rest of the deep state about where we're going and what's going on. See, for those of you, and I'm not here saying, oh, I'm so smart. I've learned all this in 32 years on air, and in years before that being awake and studying history and having a lot of family that was really smart informing me how things work, and all the experts I've gotten to talk to over the years. Most people don't understand what it means when things are published in the same minute.
No, I noticed that. Back in 2008, covering food crisis and stuff.
It's 100% they're coordinated, it's pre-programmed. And the reason they do that is there's these rules they have where they all want the same publicity, so they all agree to release the embargo report till a certain time. And I already knew about this and already read about this in leaks from Congress about CIA propaganda and things. But I experienced it when they were testing propaganda and how to destroy an individual so you could censor them and create an archetype and steal their identity. when some days I would get Google alerts and there'd be 37,000, that was the record, or 39,000, most days a few thousand articles a day attacking me. Remember that? 2017, 18, 19? I mean, I've been sitting in a restaurant that has a bar, and I've been on all 3 TVs being attacked. You all saw that. I mean, it's not believable. Even saying it sounds like a lie, but you all saw it.
Yes, the entire media apparatus sometimes just gangs up on one person, tries to destroy them. All at the same time.
What was that? That was all Mockingbird, centralized COG propaganda. And then I remember
Mockingbird, for those of you who don't know, it's the actual term that was used by the CIA for how they were controlling the press. It was Operation Mockingbird. I have the New York Times articles about it. It's 100% the real thing.
noticing that the first 50 to 100 articles that were published every day would be at 4 or 5 in the morning, and it'd be the same minute. It would say when it was published. And the articles would be almost exactly the same. They were given a script, they would just kind of rewrite it. They were using AI back then. And then I talked to insiders. They said, no, that's what that is. This is a national directive to destroy you. But it's bigger than that. They see you as the populist rebellion. By demonizing you, you're the archetype. Then they can create the straw man to demonize the entire movement. And I'd read about that and studied that in history. I understood it. But that's why I was chosen for destruction, because I was the lead elephant at that time. And still in many ways, though I don't even want that position. It's not fun. Be walking point all the time. So as I prefaced...
Yeah, it's a position I chose to sidestep, although I was never as big as him. If I'd continued all the way from 2011 covering this type of topics, I would definitely be a lot bigger today. If I didn't run into some, unfortunate accident.
This, before we go to break, come back with the news, and I'll laser focus on this. I just want you to understand that when you're sitting there looking at, at 4 a.m. or 4:05 a.m., it would always be different, but it's the exact same time, I got hit with 50 articles, 100 articles. And then you would see it proliferated to every newspaper in the country, every major TV station in the country, with variants of it. And then by noon, there'd be 20,000 articles, 10,000 articles.
Well, I will point out, we are 15 minutes in, and he still hasn't clearly explained what this breaking development is.
Very. And you guys, how's that happen? Well, AP is in every major radio station that's news, every major newspaper. It's on all the TV station websites. So that's tens of thousands of radio, tens of thousands of TV. So when an AP article goes out, each one of those is seen by Google as a new article. So when you got 39,000 articles attacking you, really there's only 300, 400 a day, but they're being duplicated. You understand? And most of that's AP or Reuters. So
Yes.
I learned in the Congressional Record when Anthony Sutton exposed an Operation Mockingbird.
Like, AP, Reuters put out an article on their newswire. Then all these newspapers pick up and then just reprint that article. And every one of them is a new article as far as Google is concerned. It's quite the deluge.
In the 70s, in the Frank Church committee hearings in 75, 76, 77, that's how you would see it, and that's how they would show it back then, explain how in one day did newspapers nationwide owned by different syndicates run basically the exact same articles that morning. It was this. This is just the high-tech version. I'm giving you a small factoid here of thousands, so you get how I know this. So when I got up this morning and saw the administration saying Israel is a terrorist state, U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee, who's a total Israeli operative, why would he say that? Trump, other surrogates saying they're terrorists. Trump saying, I order you to stop attacking Lebanon. And a bunch of other stuff that happened. And then I noticed it was all...
Yeah, settler siege of Palestinian homes in the West Bank is a horrific act of terror. Yes, the fact that they're doing this is the deep state taking a shot at Israel, definitely. But apparently there's other stories. What are all... You said a bunch of different stories together.
All published the same time, coordinated in different rollouts, then I knew it was a major move. And then you say, well, that's for your consumption because being pro-Israel so negative, Trump wants to distance himself. No, because of another 1,000+ points I couldn't even go into in a million years. It took me 10 minutes to explain the CIA timing and publishing thing. And that was just the surface of it. Trump announced we're done militarily, period. We're now going to crush them with economics, which was his original policy in his first administration that worked great, that Joe Kent and, more importantly, Chairman Kane of the Joint Chiefs told him was what we should do. So Trump admits strategic defeat today militarily, says that's basically over.
Trump admits strategic defeat militarily. So he's saying military operations are over, so no ground invasion, all that's good. It means the entire Gulf's oil infrastructure is not going to go up in flames. That is very good, unless Israel goes rogue and does something. But let's hope not. So that's one legitimately big piece of news that's good. The Iran war isn't over in that the Strait of Hormuz is still closed, and the fallout of that still needs to play out. But military escalation being off the table is a big step forwards.
Says we're going now to pure siege, which was the original policy that was working. If you believe in what they were doing and happening, and I'm not a fan of the Middle East, I'll take that any day over war.
It might have been working, but now the siege is both ways. Iran is sieging us with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And I have a feeling that their siege is far more effective. Going back to diesel hitting all-time highs 3 months before the midterm elections. Yeah, their siege is pretty damn effective.
And I won't cry my Cheerios if the Middle East get removed. I'm just worried about what Israel come and put in place, like Al-Qaeda in Syria. You know. But one-dimensionally, I'm for them being removed. It's when you get into the next consequential equations of second, third order permutations. So, and there's a bunch more. I mean, dozens of major breaking things that the general public doesn't see, doesn't understand, but it's like a major shift just happened. And as I'm sitting here, more's coming in showing that shift. Now, here's the problem. I'll give you kind of the big picture first. You think Netanyahu and the globalist billionaires and BlackRock that's as happy as a pig and you know what, that are imploding the world economy with this, do you think they're going to give up now that Trump's doing this? No. They're going to stage false flag terror attacks. Just as sure as the sun came up this morning to get us roped back into this. You got the Israeli intelligence and military spokesperson saying, gee, we sure need a new 9/11. That'll get these Americans back in line.
I don't think so.
So let me give you the headlines here as we go to break. This is AP. This is AP. The AP is the CIA. Okay? This is government announcement out of Trump's administration. Right here. Here's AP. Settler siege of Palestinian homes, which are Christian, in the West Bank. Notice AP will never talk about Christians. Settler siege of Christian homes in West Bank, a horrific act of terror, U.S. ambassador says. Here's the London Telegraph. Israel army surrounds last Christian town in West Bank after months of the Israelis burning it, bombing it, and shooting it up. You dovetail that with this. U.S. orders Israel to keep its word on Lebanon. Axios. U.S. pushes back on Katz, says IDF will not withdraw from security zone in southern Lebanon. Israel says, screw you. That's fine. The point is, Trump is making his break in all of this. And it doesn't mean the war won't flare back up. It doesn't mean there won't be a false flag. The point is, this is a concerted effort that's real out of the administration to shut the war down and not let Israel be in the driver's seat. And I would expect the NDAA and the Senate will also get shot down, turning over control of our military to Israel.
Thing is, Trump doesn't have the power to control the media that way. That's the deep state.
This is very...
The fact that this is happening, it's maybe an alliance between the deep state of the United States and Trump to push this. Or it might be just deep state acting on its own and influencing Trump and us and the public through all these stories. I need to look into it more.
Very good developments. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're getting close. Stay with me. Stay with me and start the feed now. Ladies and gentlemen, Bigley has launched an online pharmacy, 1776. All the studies.
Of course not.
Israel manipulated us.
At the deepest level, delivers razor-sharp cognition and ignites a warm, invigorating
So Israel,
through every vein.
unbelievable. How crazy the world's gotten.
It is crazy.
So Israel manipulated us into this war. I told you, Midnight Hammer, they wanted the war then. They tried to get us to go to full war then. Trump didn't. I said, look, they're trying to get us to full war. Here they are saying it. They had all the influencers go, oh, you're a traitor, you're a Qatari agent, you're a scumbag. And then 167 days ago, Israel strikes, drags us into it. Netanyahu brags about it. The Strait of Hormuz gets closed. Trump believed they'd fall in 4 days. Then it was 5 weeks. And then it begins to set in on Trump that they're not going to fall. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, and it's killing the recovery and causing a global depression.
It is doing that.
As early as this winter is what all the numbers and actuaries are showing. Definitely if it continues by next year. And it's still packed in major problems. We already all...
The beginning of it will definitely actually even hit before the midterms. It is hitting. Like, diesel prices is high. It's doubled since the war started. And that's going to... that's already affecting everyone who drives a truck.
know about that. We already all understand that. And then suddenly a barrage of breaking news all at the same time this morning. The U.S. ambassador from Israel, Mike Huckabee, that's really who he is, the Israeli operative, comes out and says Israel coming in and circling, firebombing, destroying the last Christian settlement in the West Bank is an act of terror. An act of, quote, horrific terror. Horrific act of terror. A red shot right here. So how would you get an Israeli operative to say that? He was obviously told.
Yeah, normally the settlers, they've been doing this attack for years, and this type of brutal oppression of the Palestinians in the West Bank, but now suddenly it's getting coverage.
To say that, he knows his job is hanging in the balance. Then you get all the other articles. Israel army surrounds last Christian town in West Bank. They've been shooting at it, firebombing it, beating people up. The military's not letting the Christians get in or out with food. And Huckabee, who's been supportive of all this, suddenly comes out and says it's a horrific act of terror, which it is. It's a lot worse than crushing a statue of Jesus or Mary. Everybody gets upset about that. How about burning out all the Christians?
U.S. orders Israel to keep its word on Lebanon. Benjamin Netanyahu's government has vowed to defy Washington and maintain its occupation of Lebanese territory. Yes, that was a big sticking point. It would be an absolute loss for Netanyahu if he was forced out of Lebanon. And in order to have peace and in order to open the Strait of Hormuz, it will be necessary to force Israel out of Lebanon.
Then you get U.S. orders Israel to keep its word on Lebanon and to stop bombing it. Now, Trump's done this before and said enough is enough, stop, you're breaking the peace deals.
He has. He's said it a lot of times, and Israel hasn't listened.
And Trump knows Israel wants to keep this war going because Iran and Hezbollah are heavily allied with it, and that is their main reason they say they're staying in the war. But Trump has also, and listen to this is a great point Thomas, one of the producers, making during the break. It's totally amazing, and he's absolutely right. Trump said a few weeks ago he'll send in the new al-Qaeda leader of Syria if the war continues there to take control of the country and kick Hezbollah out. And so now Trump is setting it up as this quagmire continues and stepping out of the way and saying the U.S. has washed its hands. So Syria can now go in and suck Iran into a fight between al-Qaeda, the Sunni.
Just for some context of Israel's hunger for land. This has just happened like a few days ago. Israeli foreign minister publishes map erasing southern Lebanon in Gaza propaganda post. See, it's taken over huge chunk of southern Lebanon in this, as Israel. There's a hunger for land. If you compare that to an actual map, it's just, okay. I'm not going to look it up.
And the Iranian Shia. And then that pulls Iran away from the Strait of Hormuz. Then you can say, well, that's really cold-blooded then. That's actually for Israel getting big parts of Lebanon. Yeah, but Syria just signed a big defense deal with Russia. And the al-Qaeda leader just went and met with Putin. We can show you that. Just type in leader of Syria meets with Putin in Moscow and shows them all signing agreements. So these alliances are shifting. This is out of control. The biggest driver is our Gulf allies, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and others. They want this to stop.
Syria agrees deal with Russia over future use of two key Mediterranean bases. Interesting.
And the strait being closed is killing the world economy and killing Trump's recovery. But as a backstop, the Pentagon is looking at throwing this into a new war, a three-sided war, Syria, Iran, and Israel, and Turkey will definitely enter into this, over Lebanon. So the center of gravity is moving to that, so the United States can...
The oldest Christian village in the world is burnt by the Jewish settlers, terrorists. Yeah, this pisses me off.
And then have an off-ramp as a diversion with the new war and pull back so people don't notice the strategic defeat we just had because we followed Israel's advice. When Israel's actually admitted, we want quagmire, we want chaos, we knew they wouldn't fall, but long term, we think the strait close will hurt Iran more than everybody else, so we're willing to do it and hurt everybody for our own interest of a greater Israel. And if you look at all that, it seems confusing. Yeah, it's all these different power structures trying to manipulate different angles of it, and as the situation changes, jumping around with different alliances. If it seems Machiavellian, schizophrenic, it is. There's an old saying, you can't con an honest man. It's easy to con a con artist because they love all sorts of complex, weird, convoluted, confusing, crooked garbage. But at the end of the day, with all these announcements and all these things being said to Israel, and Trump not shipping for months any missiles to Ukraine, defense missiles, and now reportedly, this isn't out yet, but I've been told, Trump has decided to defend the homeland, because that's the only missiles we have left is for homeland defense, and not ship the rest of the Patriot and other missiles to Israel and to our bases, and that this was too much for Trump, and so he is attempting to decouple from this disaster right now.
But that's the problem. He can't. Following Iran's supreme leader, there's no way to decouple from it afterwards because Iran now controls the Strait of Hormuz.
And that's the big news. That's the great news. That's what I'm so excited about. Doesn't mean we're home free. Doesn't mean it's a done deal. But I know how the propagandists work. I know how they publish. I know how they roll things out. I know the look of something, the signature of it, the modus operandi. And I can tell you this is a real attempt by Trump to disengage America and himself and all of us from the mistake he made. And it's not about giving Trump a facelift. It's not about suddenly Trump's good, as my detractors will say. It's about covering what's happening. And who could disagree with the fact that we want to put pressure on Trump and the administration and the media and the culture to get us out of this disastrous war and point out it's destroying the recovery and point out that it's Israel directing our country and Israel trying to run a coup through the Defense Authorization Act to merge with our military and intelligence.
You know what? That's the biggest test. If that Section 219 that merges U.S. military and Israeli military, if that fails to pass, if they shut that down, then I will be convinced there's some major break between Trump and Israel. But if Trump just allows that Section 219 to come into law, then everything Alex Jones is saying here is nonsense because there's no break.
And this has backfired because Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan, and now others, last week signed their new defense pact, which is nuclear because Pakistan is a serious nuclear power with extremely sophisticated ballistic missiles. And they've said they'll nuke Israel if they nuke Iran. Well, now they're saying they will attack anybody that attacks Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and others. So this backfired, this greater Israel expansion, get a regional war going, trick the Shiites and Sunnis into a conflict with each other, get them to tacitly sign on to a 4-day war to topple the mullahs. That failed. So Saudi Arabia for months has been saying in this right now. And so Trump is now listening to those voices and interest. And because the fact that it's failed, the war has failed, and Israel has bragged that we knew it would fail. You got to love Smotrich, their economic minister, bragging 2 weeks ago. We set this up. America's fighting our battles. We wanted a quagmire. We knew it wouldn't make Iran fall for a couple of years. Ha, ha, ha. Thank you, Israel, for your psychotic bragging. Thank you for your leaders' psychotic bragging.
Yeah, that is psychotic.
Thank you, Ben Gvir. There's Ben Gvir with Smotrich. So, oh, our enemies are killing each other. Our enemies are going bankrupt. And then BlackRock, our big banker daddy with the Rothschilds, will come in and take control. Ha, ha, ha. It's great. We get rid of Israel, and our enemy, the new Rome, goes down in bankruptcy. And we're their banker. So this is so fun. Jack Sprat could eat no fat. His wife could eat no lean.
Look at how happy they are.
So between them, they lick the platter clean. Yep, the Machiavellian insanity, the Machiavellian triple dealing, all the plans within plans until it all falls apart and you're crowned king nothing. And because the public's aware of this, and it's now a major political issue, Trump has said months ago, everybody hates you, Netanyahu. Everybody hates Israel because of you now. The whole world's against you. The most powerful people in the world. I'm pro-Israel, but you've destroyed Israel's name. You've really screwed up. And Trump screwed up signing on to it. But the fact that he's scapegoating them, and they deserve it overall, he's guilty too, is again showing you that he's trying to off-ramp this. He's trying to get out of this.
What I'm surprised about is that Alex Jones actually thinks that Trump has the ability to control the media. He would have never had so many problems if he could control the media. No, deep state controls the media.
And so we just keep putting the pressure on the NDAA. We keep putting the pressure on all these groups and systems trying to take our sovereignty and our freedom and our liberty and our power to control our government. And we hammer the fact that this is historic and this is happening. You can say, oh, well, what is them signing an executive order saying we shouldn't have 71 shots for kids? Maybe it should be 9 or 10 or 11. And then it advises the agencies to do their own.
Vance accuses Israel of manipulating U.S. public opinion to prolong Iran war. Well, it's definitely working with people like Asmongold.
Studies and prove this is safe. Oh, that didn't fix everything. It's a defeat. We're not going to sleep. No, we're not going to sleep. We're fighting. We're winning. Do we win the war? No, but we're winning battles. But this is way bigger than that. They had the Israeli agent, Mike Huckabee, their ambassador to the U.S. Folks, I know he's technically the U.S. ambassador to Israel, but he really is Israeli ambassador. Come out and say Israel's involved in horrific acts of terror, exterminating Christians. He's doing that because I guarantee you he is hanging by a thread with his job. And then you have Axios, that is where Trump puts out all his leaks.
Axios, yes. Axios puts out, Trump does put out his leaks there. That is true.
saying Trump is pissed at Israel. Trump said, you have better stop it right now. You'd better stop attacking Lebanon right now. You better stop sabotaging our deals. And then Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, the new plan is economic pressure on Iran to bring them to heel. Well, that was what Trump did his first 4 years that was very successful. That's what Joe Kent, in my interview with him Saturday that we aired Monday, said should be done. That was the Pentagon assessment. And the Defense Intelligence Agency, and even the CIA assessment was, don't do it. Even the IDF told Trump 170-something days ago, a week before this war started, they're not going to fall, don't do this. If you're going to strike them to cut back their missiles and stuff, that's fine, but they may close the strait. We advise against this. The IDF went against Netanyahu and the Mossad and said, don't do this. Not because they're not for expanding Israel, because they can think second, third, fourth order about, this will make Israel.
Ukraine was the big project of the deep state. It's where all its energy was being devoted. And this Iran war undercuts the Ukraine project at its knees. No, it's a disaster for the deep state too.
Even more unpopular. This could drive the Arab nations together in a new alliance, they said. And what just happened? And now, Saudi Arabia, as I first told you years ago, and Turkey and everybody else are now under a nuclear Pakistan umbrella. Turkey has the biggest military in what you call the Western Europe bridge into the Near East.
Yep.
They have the biggest military in Europe other than Russia. If you count the East, Russia's number one for conventional military. And number one for nukes, and who knows what else, we're told. And you don't think the U.S. got a little stuff under the table up the sleeve, you're a fool. But the point is, it's mutually assured destruction. Doesn't matter. I can destroy you 5,000 times. I can destroy you 8,000 times. I can put 10,000 bullets in you. I can put 50,000 bullets in you. I can beat you in the head with a baseball bat 5,000 times. I can beat you in the head with a baseball bat 8,000 times. Doesn't matter. This is madness, folks. Mutually assured destruction. So all this moved. Israel miscalculated. It all went off the rails. So riddle me this, Batman. Does Israel and the psychotics running it give up?
Riddle me this, Batman.
No.
No, obviously.
What does Israel do now that their whole big master plan, what's that Moby song? It's the theme song for, is that Moby? What's the theme song for the Born Identity? Yeah, I want to, the last minute of this hour, I want to play Extreme Ways. Because, it's so wonderful. Everything's going so great. Then it fell apart like it always does. And that's the thing about evil. You study it. It always works really good the first few levels. And then it gets worse and worse. And it gets you to double down to try to prop it up. And now it's captured you. Now it's got you by the
road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Johnson. And then it just gets more horrible and drags you through a meat grinder. That's when I look at Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, and they're all giggling and laughing in every video and looking crazy. You know where I've seen footage like that? When Hitler invaded Poland and Czechoslovakia, and they got that footage of them up there in their command center, and Hermann Goering's rubbing his hands, and Hitler is, and they all look crazy. And it's the same look, folks, called megalomania.
That's a great song from Undertale 2. Megalomania.
Cover their megalomania. You see it in me, only because I'm empathic. I'm focusing on them. I'm looking at them, and I'm showing you empathically what they are. That freaks them out, by the way, because I can show them their spirit, but I'm not possessed by their spirit. I'm simply reflecting back at them what they are. And the closest thing to Adolf Hitler on this planet is Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and the rest of them. And all the Nazis go, Hitler's great. What do you mean? Oh, you're idiots.
Wish we had color video from back then.
Lebensstrahl, living space, expanding, invincible, very competent, incredible smart people under him. Overreaching, gambling, more, feeling the power, being drug into it. What do you do when you're Israel? Well, past behavior is the most indicative of future action. So will Israel back off, take its gains, dominating the region, already in control of Congress to a great extent, or will it go for full control of Congress and open dictatorship in the U.S. to the bureaucracy and deep state? And will it do a false flag, nuclear false flag, or something like that? Or maybe a power outage and blame it on Iran, a cyber attack? Because up above Israel's BlackRock and the Rothschilds and the globalists and their whole system. And I think you know the answer. They're going to hit us. They're not going to stop. That's fortune.
He thinks above Israel is the globalists. I think parallel to Israel is the globalists.
There's the bold, so we're told. So tick, tick, tock, tock. Only thing that can stop this is an act of God, but God helps those that helps themselves. And that means everyone having an epiphany about this. And I'm sorry, only spending 99% of your time on Charlie Kirk assassination, maybe 1% of your time on Russia getting ready to hit Europe openly and nuclear war, maybe 0.5% of the time on the NDAA Israel taking over the U.S., maybe 0.25% of 1%, maybe 1/1000th of a percentage of your time caring about the Trump administration openly breaking with Israel in action, not shipping them the missiles, not giving Ukraine missiles, saying we're done with physical war, we're going back to siege, and then having all these Israeli operatives have to come out and openly attack Israel and say, you're horrific terrorists for exterminating Christians. I mean, we know it's the government bot censoring us when we put out every week burning Christian villages, burning Christian churches. It gets shut down. It gets blocked.
Yes. For weeks, months, years, these stories have come out, and now suddenly it's all over the news.
We get shadow banned. That's not X doing that. That's the bots and the internal government algorithm systems. They're able to come in and manipulate all that. It's the same thing everywhere.
Settlers seize of Palestinian homes in the West Bank, a horrific act of terror, U.S. ambassador says. Yes, Mike Huckabee saying that. Ooh, incredible.
Now you got the government organs saying what the truth. That's Trump going, oh, you think you run me? Because Trump keeps saying, I run things. I'm pro-Israel. I thought this would work. And now they've got the operatives threatening him. He's like, well, son of a bitch, you don't run me. I don't want to blow Israel up. Hell, half my family, and crew are Jewish, but hell, you're not going to sit there and tell me you're boss.
This is different organs of the deep state clashing with each other. It's the overall structure of the conspiracy disintegrating. It's lovely.
Just like you have the big fight in Israel with 80% of the Jews in the government trying to get rid of Netanyahu. It doesn't mean they're perfect. It's the whole Ehud Barak crew and Obama. I mean, but it's not just them. Look at our Congress, a bunch of...
Okay, I'm going to stop it here. Well, it was a very interesting video. And I'm glad that Alex Jones is so excited about this. I think it's pretty big too, but I read it less into Trump. I see widespread control of the media. That's never Trump. He can leak stuff to Axios, yes. But control of the media, that is the dark side of the U.S., the deep state. And it could just be that Trump and deep state are aligned in wanting to take Israel down a peg. That's my interpretation of all these stories breaking at the same time. And that is a good thing. But it also reinforces my view that it was not the deep state, U.S. deep state's intention to start this war with Iran. And Trump isn't under control of the U.S. deep state. And Netanyahu came in, pitched this idea, and he completely undermined Project Ukraine. And people in the deep state are probably finally, let's say, showing this disapproval. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.